You probably think your decisions are entirely your own, right? That every yes and every no is simply a product of your own free will. But what if that's not completely true? What if I told you some of the choices you make were quietly planned by someone else? By the end of this video, you're going to see an invisible tactic of persuasion, a technique so subtle, yet so powerful, it can guide you to agree to things you would normally refuse. Because here's the truth, most manipulation doesn't look like manipulation at all. It doesn't feel forceful or obvious. Picture this. Your friend asks to borrow your car and for a whole month you'd probably laugh and say, absolutely not. It's a huge ask. You need your car, and the risk just feels too high, so you say no, and you feel good about it, in control, certain. But then, they shift. Okay, I get it, no problem. But what about just this weekend? I'm in a real bind. And suddenly, something changes. You feel a wave of relief compared to a month. A weekend feels like nothing. You might even feel generous and for saying yes. But that feeling, that sense of this is fair, that's the red flag. Because in that moment, you weren't just being kind, you were being guided. That first ridiculous request was never the real goal. It was a decoy, carefully placed from the very beginning, to lead you here, to that simple, comfortable yes. The illusion of control. So, why does this feel so natural? Because it plays on a misunderstanding of what's really happening. When you shut down that first outrageous request, you felt powerful, like you drew a line in the sand, and they respected it. At least, that's what it looked like. You walk away thinking you handled it well, that you stayed in control. But that feeling, that confidence, it's an illusion, the illusion of control, and it's exactly how the manipulator wants you to feel. Because the moment you believe you're holding all the cards is the moment you stop questioning the game. You think you're steering the conversation, but in reality, you're already being led. Your brain is celebrating this little win. You just avoided a huge inconvenience, and now you're facing something much smaller. It feels like progress, relief, control. But here's what's really happening. The contrast is so sharp that your brain stops evaluating the second request on its own. Instead, it compares it to the sheer absurdity of the first one. So now the question changes. Is lending your car for a weekend still a big deal? Of course it is. Does it come with risks? Yes. But is it as crazy as losing your car for 30 days? Not even close. And that's the trap. This comparison is a cognitive loophole, one that was intentionally created for you to fall into. Because in that moment, you're not really making a decision. You're just choosing the path of least resistance, a path that was carefully paved for you just seconds earlier. And the most dangerous part, you walk away feeling like you won, like you controlled the outcome, when in reality, you never even realized you were playing their game. The reveal introducing the concept. This powerful and often invisible persuasion method has a name. The door-in-the-face technique, a classic strategy in social psychology, a smooth, calculated, two-step maneuver designed to get a yes by first triggering a guaranteed no. The name says it all. A salesperson begins with something so extreme, so unreasonable, that you instinctively reject it, like slamming a door right in their face. But here's what most people miss. For the persuader, that rejection isn't failure. It's the setup, the first move in a carefully planned game. The technique is simple. Start with a large, unrealistic request, something you already know will be refused. Then, the moment you hear that no, you pull back and present a second, much smaller request. But here's the truth. That second request, That's the real target, and the genius of this technique is how it quietly reshapes your perception, because now that smaller ask, which would have felt significant on its own, suddenly looks reasonable, minor, almost harmless. Why? Because it's standing in the shadow of that first massive request, and without realizing it, the entire conversation has been engineered, designed to make you feel like they made a sacrifice, like they compromised, and that creates something powerful. A silent pressure for you to meet them halfway. So when you say yes, it doesn't feel forced, it feels fair. But that no you gave earlier, the one that made you feel strong, that wasn't a win, it was the price the manipulator was willing to pay to lead you exactly where they wanted you. The psychological breakdown. So, why is the door-in-the-face technique so brutally effective? Because it doesn't rely on force, it doesn't pressure you openly. Instead, it quietly hijacks two powerful parts of human nature: reciprocal concessions and the contrast principle. Let's start with the first one, reciprocal concessions, also known as the norm of reciprocity. It's an unspoken rule we all follow. If someone does something for you, you feel the need to return the favor, almost automatically. Now here's where it gets dangerous. The door-in-the-face technique weaponizes this instinct. When the manipulator steps down from that huge, outrageous request to something smaller, your brain doesn't see strategy. It sees a concession. It feels like they gave something up, and that triggers something subtle, a quiet, internal pressure, a sense of obligation, like now, it's your turn to meet them halfway. So what do? You adjust, you soften, you switch your no into a yes, not because you truly want to, but because it feels fair, and that's the illusion, because in reality, they didn't give up anything they actually wanted. The second part is the contrast principle. Our brains don't judge things in isolation. We understand everything in comparison. If you lift a light box and then a heavy one, that heavy box feels even heavier, not because it changed, but because your perception did. And this technique uses that same shortcut. The first request, the extreme one, sets a high anchor, something unrealistic, overwhelming. So when the second request appears, it doesn't feel big anymore. It feels small, manageable, almost insignificant. Think about it. A charity asks you for $1,000. You say no immediately. Too much, too fast. But then they follow up. I understand. Would you consider just a 25? And suddenly, everything shifts. You're not thinking about 25 anymore. You're feeling the relief of it not being $1,000. And that relief feels like the right decision. That's the power of contrast. It quietly reshapes how you see the choice. So now, you have two forces working on you at once. The contrast principle makes you want to say yes, and reciprocity makes you feel like you should say yes. Real-world examples. Once you know what you're looking for, you'll start seeing this technique everywhere. It's a go-to move in sales, fundraising, and even in our personal and professional lives. First up, the negotiator. Example: an employee wants a 5% raise, but they know asking for it directly might get shut down. So, using the door-in-the-face technique, they march into their boss's office and make a detailed case for a 15% raise. The boss is impressed but says it's just not in the budget. The employee acts disappointed, pauses, and then says, I understand the budget is tight. Could we at least consider a 5% increase to reflect my work? The boss, who just avoided a 15% hit, now sees 5% as a perfectly reasonable compromise. The boss feels like they won by negotiating the number down, and the employee walks out with exactly what they wanted all along. Next, the relationship example. This is where the tactic can get more sinister. A controlling partner might ask for something they know is a total invasion of privacy, like full access to their partner's phone and all their messages. Their partner rightfully refuses. After some arguing, the controlling partner concedes. They'll say, "Okay, you're right, that's too much. I'm just feeling insecure. Can you just promise to tell me who you're with when you go out?" The partner, relieved to have avoided the massive privacy breach, quickly agrees to the second request. They feel like they successfully defended their boundaries. But the manipulator's real goal was never to get the phone password. It was to establish a new rule of control, and the smaller request accomplishes that perfectly. Finally, let's look at the sales example. You're on a car lot, and the salesperson immediately shows you a top-of-the-line model loaded with every expensive feature. The sticker price is shocking. You laugh and say it's way out of your league. The salesperson nods knowingly and says, "No problem, I get it. But let me show you this other model. It doesn't have the fancy sound system or sunroof, but it has all the core features you want, and it's a lot more affordable." Suddenly, this second car looks like an amazing deal. The salesperson anchored your perception of value to that wildly expensive first car, making the second one, their real target, seem like a bargain you can't pass up. The solution: empowerment through awareness. So how do you defend against a tactic that works below the surface? The answer is simple in theory, but it takes a little discipline: awareness. Manipulation loves the dark. When you shine a light on the tactic, it loses its power. The key is to mentally separate the two requests. When someone hits you with an outrageous request and then quickly pivots to a smaller one, a red flag should pop up. Don't let your brain fall into the comparison trap. Instead, just take a moment. Pause. You can even say, "Let me think about that for a second." This simple act short-circuits their momentum and puts you back in control. Now, evaluate that second request entirely on its own, as if the first one never even happened. Forget that they just asked for a ridiculous sum of money. The real question is, do you want to donate to this cause right now? Is this a good purchase for you? By isolating the actual request, you strip away the fake concession and the sense of obligation. You're no longer reacting to a clever negotiation. You're making a conscious choice on your own terms. The best defense is realizing you don't owe anyone a yes just because they backed down from a demand they never expected you to accept anyway. Conclusion and CTA. Our own minds, with their desire to be fair and their love for simple comparisons, can be turned against us. The door-in-the-face technique shows just how easily our feeling of control can be an illusion, crafted by someone who knows how we're wired. But this knowledge is your shield. By understanding how this technique is built, you can start to spot it in your daily life. The next time you refuse a huge request and then feel relieved when a smaller one appears, stop and ask yourself, was I just led through the door? Have you ever had a moment where you think this technique was used on you? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience could be the red flag someone else needs to see. And if you want to keep exploring the hidden dynamics of psychology, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more.